For my service learning project, I chose to work with an organization called Apex Academy. This is their website here. I worked with them to lead a book club with a group of the student athletes that they serve. I also analyzed their SAT data that they acquired this summer when they had all of their students take a full length SAT at their week long summer camp. And then I've also become involved in tutoring the reading and writing portion of the SAT. So, as you can see, their goal here is to work with student athletes from under resourced communities. The students I worked with are primarily from the Lansing Public School District, and then some are also from Waverly High School. So, and they're all high school football players. This organization was started by two football players who played in high school and then went on to play at Michigan State University. And then one of the co-founders actually played in the NFL for a few years. And the mission is to help students from these under-resourced communities leverage the characteristics that they learn from football and use those strong characteristics that they learn in the areas of leadership and character building to help them be successful in the classroom and in their lives. So their slogan here, engage, educate, and empower. Everything is really centered around how they're best going to do that. In working with them, a big part of the book study is, giving the student athletes that are part of their organization an opportunity to engage in work that they may not be asked to do in their high schools. A big part of the achievement gap that people like to refer to it as is actually an opportunity gap, as we've read in our texts. And Apex, they don't necessarily put it in those words, but I think a big part of their work is closing that opportunity gap, giving the student athletes opportunities, like I said, that they wouldn't get in their classrooms. So if I go and walk you through a little bit of this, I'll take you to the About section here. And you can see they offer mini camps. These summit workshops I'm not real familiar with. I know the mini camps have happened in Texas, in Houston, Texas, and also in Miami, Florida. And then this Apex Academy is the 3-year cohort that students from Lansing sign up to be a part of beginning their sophomore year. And then they stay engaged with the program through the end of their senior year, at which point they are guaranteed a Lansing Promise scholarship. And we also help them at Apex. They help them to, sign up for financial aid and go through the whole college application process. Another really awesome thing I learned is that they partnership. I wonder if they have that in here. They partner with the Highlands Ability Battery Test, which is an assessment that allows the students to pinpoint exactly what their natural abilities and strengths are, and then it aligns those abilities and strengths with their best fit careers, I should say. So that students can then choose learning paths in high school and in college that are suited to those careers, and they can actually follow on a path where they'll actually achieve success. It's a pretty incredible test. But to get into the program, they have to meet these eligibility requirements. And they focus specifically on helping students who are from underrepresented populations, who are economically disadvantaged in most situations, who are first generation college attendees, and who are committed to pushing themselves to success beyond the classroom and off of the football field. So they can apply each year as sophomores, and they get to then go to a week-long camp, like I said, and then they attend these Apex Sundays, which is where I volunteer, and that's where I have done the tutoring. My first session, I should say, was at an Apex Sunday where I actually led them on the NCAA eligibility requirements to help the young men really get an understanding of why grades and SAT scores are so important. And this stemmed from a comment one student made when I was with them where he said, wait, what? Our freshman grades count? And I, was a little taken aback by that comment because I assumed everybody knows, yes, your freshman grades count. But then I started to think if he has that question, how many other kids probably have that question too? And it kind of broke my heart that there are kids in his school and then who knows where else that don't even really have a good understanding of how school and how grades work, and why, not just why they're important or good to make people proud, but like they're a necessity for moving on to the next level of life. So I realized I need to get some buy-in and get them to really understand why these grades are so important and why these tests matter. So I did use the NCAA eligibility requirements, and then I also helped them calculate their GPAs and then plug in, okay, in future years, if I get these grades on my tests or on my classes, what kind of GPA will that get me, so that they could figure out what they need to do to be eligible, since most of them have aspirations of playing sports at the next level. And even if they don't end up doing that, if this is a way we can get them to buy in, I think it's worth, you know, using, because it's something that's meaningful and important to them. Um, so that's a little bit about the work that I did. I do think that while Apex is doing some incredibly amazing things and that their services are so needed, there definitely are some next steps that they need to take. Um, I don't know if it mentioned it on here, but it says, oh yeah, that mentors are a big part of the program. And I think that their next step, in providing social justice and really building these kids' social and cultural capital, is really developing a stronger mentorship program. Right now, they use the volunteers that, work at Apex Sundays and at their camp to fill in as mentors, but there's not necessarily any training or any guidelines as to, what that entails. So I think that, maybe partnering with another nonprofit that does have a solid mentorship program would be a good route for Apex to take, so that they could strengthen their mentorship program, and maybe, even get some volunteers that are just specifically there to work as mentors that can focus on that aspect. Whereas like in my role as a volunteer, I'm, prefer to focus mainly on the academics, since that's where my strengths lie. So I think that that would be, a big next step for them, is working on building out their mentorship program. Another next step that I think they need to take is they give the kids the Highlands Ability Test to help figure out what their natural abilities are and what careers align with that. And then they do a lot of work with a consultant from Highlands to figure out which universities offer programs in those areas and those career fields that are good for them. But I think it needs to start sooner than that. And what I'd like to see Apex do is partner with the schools to figure out, what kind of technical education programs does Lansing Public School District and the Waverly School District offer to our students? And are there any of these tech ed or co-op type programs that high schoolers could enroll in and, sign up for, that align with what our students are showing as strengths on their Highlands test? Getting them to follow that career path now not only is going to set them up for success later, but it might make school a little bit more meaningful for them now, when they're actually taking courses that they're good at and that they're naturally good at. And therefore, maybe they'll experience a higher level of success and start to enjoy it more. I think if Apex could connect with the school district more closely that way and see what kind of courses are offered, and not just guide kids on picking classes in college, which they're not there yet, but guide them in picking classes right now in high school, I think that that would really start a stronger path to success for the kids than maybe what they are currently experiencing. And then finally, with the comment about, I didn't know our freshman year grades count, it made me think that maybe down the road there's a way for Apex to start serving students at younger ages. Right now they, serve only 10th through 12th grade. But, maybe similar to the mini camps, maybe they could offer mini sessions for 8th graders or even 6th graders, starting them young with understanding the importance of grades and test scores, and then beyond that, understanding, the importance of knowing your strengths and knowing your interests and following those paths, so that you are on a road to success and so that you can experience it and really build your self-efficacy and your self-worth. I think that that would take the community that they serve further, and it would extend their reach even further than what they are now. So those are some of the next steps that I think will be necessary in helping Apex Academy continue to serve, in their role towards social justice. It's an injustice that the students in these communities don't already receive these kinds of services. It's an injustice that they're not getting the SAT prep they deserve. I worked with kids when I was there. They didn't even, most of them, one of them knew how to log into his College Board account, which if you don't get into the account, you don't see your scores and you don't see all of the detailed data that they break down for you. And therefore, you're not using it to help yourself improve. And I feel like that's, a piece that the school should be helping them with. And it's an injustice that they're not getting that help. So Apex is filling that gap in that way. But there are still other things that I think Apex could do to continue building out their social justice. And I'm going to continue working with them and volunteering with them. So I'm excited to continue my not only service learning, but my servant leadership in helping this organization and a community that needs these resources.